Have you ever considered if reincarnation, such a profound and ancient concept, present in so many cultures, might have been part of early Christianity and for some reason disappeared from sacred texts? Let's explore this intriguing possibility, delving into the shadows of the past. Could this idea have truly been excluded from the Bible? Open your mind and heart to this journey of discovery. To understand the potential link between reincarnation and the beginnings of Christianity, we need to travel back in time, long before the Christian era. Ancient roots, reincarnation in millennia, old civilizations. The idea of the soul's return already existed in ancient civilizations, present in temples, in the wisdom of sages, and in secret rituals. In ancient Egypt, for instance, priests guarded the mysteries of the soul and its return. For them, death was seen as a mere passage to a new stage. The famous Book of the Dead describes the soul's journey, its judgment, and the possibility of rebirth or remaining on other planes of existence. The soul was conceived as a traveler, returning as many times as necessary to achieve perfect harmony. On the other side of the world, in India, Vedic texts dating back to 1500 BCE already presented the concept of samsara, the infinite cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. This cycle endured until the soul freed itself from material attachments and achieved moksha, eternal liberation. The actions of a lifetime, governed by karma, shaped future lives in a continuous journey of learning that only ended with enlightenment. Given such widespread acceptance of reincarnation in such diverse cultures, the question arises, why did Christianity, as we know it today, seemingly reject it? Or at some point in its formation, did it accept it? Nascent Christianity and the debate of the soul. In the first centuries after Christ's death, Christianity was not a unified and organized religion. Each community interpreted Jesus' teachings in its own way. There was no official Bible or central authority dictating rules. There was, however, a deep desire to understand the divine and the great questions of existence. During this formative period, Christianity was shaped by incorporating various spiritual and philosophical thoughts that coexisted with ancient traditions. Among early Christian writings, reincarnation was, in fact, a topic of discussion, though not unanimously accepted. Church fathers like Origen of Alexandria, 2nd–3rd centuries CE, one of the most influential early Christian theologians, debated and, to some extent, accepted the idea of the pre-existence of the soul, which is intrinsically linked to reincarnation. Origen believed that souls existed before uniting with bodies, and that, through cycles of learning, they could purify themselves. The turning point, the Council of Constantinople, 553 CE. In the 6th century, a dramatic event marked a decisive turning point, the Second Council of Constantinople, held in 553 CE. This powerful gathering, with the authority to reshape Christianity, decided the fate of many doctrines, including reincarnation. The decision to banish reincarnation from official doctrines was not purely theological, but also deeply political. Emperor Justinian III and his wife, Empress Theodora, led an effort to eliminate the idea of multiple lives, and with it the prospects of continuous spiritual evolution that transcended a single existence. Justinian was an emperor determined to consolidate Christianity under a single set of doctrines, essential not only for faith, but also for maintaining order and control in his vast empire. Reincarnation, with its implications of multiple lives and spiritual self-sufficiency, represented a direct challenge to the central authority of the Church, which sought to control the soul's destiny and the path to redemption. With Theodora by his side, politically astute and equally determined, Justinian convened the Second Council of Constantinople. This council became a landmark, With the support of ecclesiastical leaders close to imperial power, Justinian used the council as a tool to establish uniform doctrine and eliminate what he considered theological dissent. The council gathered bishops and theologians from various regions, primarily from the Christian East, although there were some representatives from the West. Important figures present included Patriarch Eutychius of Constantinople, who presided over the council, and Bishop Vigilius of Rome, who initially resisted certain decisions but eventually yielded to imperial pressure. Political motivations and the power of the Church. The eradication of reincarnation from Christianity was far from being solely a theological matter. Reincarnation presented a powerful idea. It implied that each soul was responsible for its own evolution, and that, through multiple lives, it could achieve the purity necessary to unite with the divine. This perspective could, in the eyes of the Church, lead people away from the necessity of a single mediating institution for salvation. Control over the soul's destiny was one of the most effective ways to guarantee the Church's authority over the faithful. If people believed they had only one life to secure their salvation, the urgency of following the Church's teachings and rituals dramatically increased. Reincarnation, on the other hand, allowed the soul to evolve independently over multiple lives and potentially outside of a singular institution. Justinian understood that a united church under one doctrine would strengthen his empire's power. By removing reincarnation from Christian doctrine, he reinforced the need to seek salvation immediately, without concessions, and always through obedience to the clergy and official teachings. Theodora's influence on this decision is often highlighted. Before ascending to the throne, Theodora's life had been marked by poverty and the social stigma of her past as an actress and courtesan. Such experiences instilled in her a deep fear of being reborn into a new life with similar difficulties. This personal fear, combined with Justinian's desire to unify Christian doctrine and strengthen the Church's power as the sole mediator of salvation, promoted the view that each person had only one life to secure their soul's destiny. Justinian, in fact, explicitly ordered that the doctrine of reincarnation be considered heretical. Traces in the Bible. Although reincarnation is not explicitly taught in the canonical texts of the Bible as we know it today, there are passages that, under certain interpretations, suggest the possibility of the soul's return, and which were reinterpreted or set aside to fit official dogma. In Matthew 17:10-13, we find one of the most cited examples by those who advocate for the presence of reincarnation in the Bible. After Jesus' transfiguration, the disciples ask about the prophecy that Elijah would come before the Messiah, to which Jesus responds that Elijah has already come, referring to John the Baptist. This mysterious response from Jesus suggests that John the Baptist was a reincarnation of Elijah, coming to prepare the way for Christ, according to the ancient prophecy. For early Christians, this answer likely had a clear meaning. Reincarnation was part of the spiritual understanding of the time. Jesus doesn't hesitate to affirm that the prophetic spirit of Elijah returned in the form of John, as if it were an accepted reality among his followers. Another intriguing passage appears in John 9:1-2, where the disciples, upon seeing a man born blind, ask Jesus, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" This question seems to suggest that they believed the man could have sinned in a previous existence, that is, in a past life. If the concept of reincarnation were entirely foreign to the Jewish Christian context, this question would make no sense. The disciples seem to understand that the soul could have a history of actions beyond this current life, which could explain the man's condition at birth. Jesus does not correct this assumption but expands on it, indicating that the man's blindness is not due to past sins, but is an opportunity for God's works to be displayed. This dialogue implies an understanding that the soul could carry previous experiences. In John 3:37, Jesus tells Nicodemus, "Very truly, I tell you, no one can see the kingdom of God unless they are born again." A confused Nicodemus asks, "How can someone be born when they are old? Surely they cannot enter a second time into their mother's womb to be born." Jesus, however, speaks of a spiritual birth, like a second life, which is essential to enter the kingdom of God. Although traditionally interpreted as a metaphor for conversion and spiritual transformation, some see a resonance here with the idea of rebirth. The book of Ecclesiastes 1-9-11 states, "What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun." This passage is seen by some as a suggestion of the cyclical repetition of life and events, which could, for certain interpretations, include cycles of existence for souls. In the book Wisdom of Solomon 8:19-20, a deuterocanonical book accepted by some Christian denominations but not all, we read, "I was a child of good parts, and I was given a good soul, or rather being good, I entered a body undefiled." Esoteric interpretation suggests that the author is speaking of a pre-existent soul that incarnates in a new body. The legacy of silence and the search for answers. The relationship between the Bible and reincarnation is a topic shrouded in mystery and debate. Although reincarnation is not explicitly taught in canonical texts as a central dogma, there are passages that, under certain interpretations, suggest the possibility of the soul returning in different bodies, as in the case of John the Baptist being identified as Elijah. Historically, it's believed that reincarnationist beliefs were debated in the early centuries of Christianity, but were eventually officially rejected in the 6th century during the Second Council of Constantinople, 553 CE. This decision was strongly politically motivated under the influence of Emperor Justinian and sought to unify faith under a more controllable interpretation. Thus, the concept of reincarnation was erased from Christian dogmas, but traces remained hidden in the subtext of sacred texts and in mystical traditions linked to early Christianity. Reincarnation, though officially rejected by traditional Christian theology, remains an intriguing possibility for many. It offers a broader view of divine justice, where each soul would have multiple chances to evolve, rectify mistakes, and learn. If we consider that God is infinite in mercy and patience, why wouldn't He allow new opportunities for spiritual growth? Perhaps the Church's silence on the matter is less a denial and more a political and historical choice. After all, what else might be hidden between the lines of the Scriptures? And what if reincarnation is a missing piece of the human spiritual puzzle? Have you ever felt that your soul carries memories that don't belong to this life? Share your opinion in the comments and don't forget to subscribe.